Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of the 107 podcast with myself, Jacob, and my co-host Ash. Now I'm not dressed appropriately for this
Oh
podcast, so
no.
I'm just very quickly just going to pop on a very appropriate jacket for audio listeners. I am now putting on my McLaren jacket because, as you may know from the title of this episode, today we will be discussing Lando Norris. And we will be discussing how, because he's now a race winner, I would like us to have a little conversation between myself and Ash, and obviously you as well, the audience, and work out whether or not we feel as though at the end of their careers, Lando will have more or less wins than current drivers on the grid who already have wins. Completely theoretical, obviously.
Okay.
But we have quite a few different race winners, and I would just like to go through how realistic we feel as though these wins/winners will be stacked up at the end of the careers. Because I was looking at the statistics of who has so many wins right now, the ages, the teams they're driving for, because we don't have too many. Well, actually, that's a slight lie. We have got quite a few different race winners. But Charles Leclerc only having 5 race wins doesn't sound right, does it?
It's because he's got so many poles.
He's got yeah. How many poles does he have now?
I'll have a look for you.
It's like there's something ridiculous.
Charles
like
Leclerc.
15 or something like that. It's
Well, is
a lot.
it the statistic that Max Verstappen has won more from
Charles Leclerc's poles? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But so I just thought we could spend a little bit of time running through each of these race winners and seeing.
Do you want to guess how many pole positions?
I thought it was like 15.
Higher.
More? 20?
Higher.
25?
23.
Oh, I thought it was. Yeah, that's a lot of pole positions.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
So,
I wonder if the wins that he has, all of them came from pole or not. I guarantee you all of them didn't.
so Charles Leclerc.
But yeah, it just like I'm gonna have to take this jacket off. I am absolutely roasting. But it begs the question, like now that Lando's got his first win, I would like to discuss current race winning drivers and where we feel as though that he will stack up against or end up next to. Thought it could be a fun thought experiment. While you're trying to find that information, I will explain the current drivers with wins on the grid who don't have a world championship. So this doesn't include Max, doesn't include Alonso, and doesn't include Hamilton. I almost forgot the name Hamilton. Good job, me. But so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 race winners now on the grid who haven't won a world championship. Have you found out the info?
I have. 4 of his wins have come from pole.
4. Okay, cool. Yeah, I didn't think it would be all of them, but yeah.
But we talked about this a few podcasts ago. You know why he hasn't won?
Well, because Max.
No, because we haven't gone to a race.
Oh yeah, and that, yeah. The last time Charles Leclerc won a race was 2022, and we were there.
Yep.
And
we haven't been to.
We haven't been since. So maybe the next time we go to a race together, maybe we'll be Charles's good luck charm. Ferrari, if you want to send us tickets, you know where we are, But okay, so I would like to run through the current race winners, how many races they have, and their age as well, because I think that's something to take into account too.
Okay.
Okay. So we'll start off at the bottom. Let's start at the bottom. Lando has 1 race win, and he is 24. He's the youngest on this list as well. Gasly is the next on this list. Well, Gasly, Ocon, and Russell are all tied with 1 win each. Russell is 26, Ocon is 27, and Gasly is 28. So all 3 of those are sort of tied. Then we have Carlos Sainz, who has 3 wins, and he is 29. We have Charles Leclerc, who is 26 and has 5 wins. And obviously we said that we didn't think that 5 wins for Charles sounds right, because it just doesn't, let's be honest. Perez, who is 34, has 6 wins to his name. Daniel Ricciardo has 8 wins to his name, who's also 34. And top of the list is Valtteri Bottas with 10 wins, who is also 34. So those are the number of wins and drivers and stuff like that we have at the moment. And so I think we can very quickly, off the bat, we can say that the likelihood of Bottas and Ricardo winning another race between now and the end of their career is probably quite small, right? So I'm going to go ahead and say that they'll probably end up with 10 wins and 8 wins, respectively.
Okay.
They're probably like, is Daniel Ricciardo ever going to win another race?
Unless he moves to Red Bull.
Unless he moves to Red Bull, but apparently Red Bull are looking at securing Sergio. I would argue that he's probably not going to win another race, which it's a bit of a shame. But let's think of it realistically. Sergio Perez, who has 6 wins, 34, still driving the fastest car on the grid. Do we feel as though that number is going to go up? Do we think he's going to get a couple more wins under his belt?
I think he'll get a couple more wins.
Would you say 2 or 3? Is he going to end up at like beating Bottas in terms of race wins, or no? Because he'd have to win 4 races between, let's say, for example, now and the end of next season.
Oh, over 2 seasons. If he's still at Red Bull, I could see him getting.
You could see him getting okay. Okay, cool. So he could be about as successful as Bottas. I'll put 10 wins down for Perez. This is the first difficult one.
Mm-hmm.
Charles Leclerc.
Yeah, I can see him getting more.
I can see him ending up with similar levels to Alonso.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
I think with the calendar growing as well. And that, like Max Verstappen is what, 26 now? I think he's 26.
Max Verstappen is let's have a look. 26, yeah.
Yeah, 26.
Well, he's got a long-term contract with Ferrari.
Yeah.
Ferrari, I know whatever people say, are generally around the top.
Yeah.
Doing well and progressing since Fred has come in. So yeah, I could see him getting a few more wins. Be interesting to see how he does against Lewis.
True. So. Yeah, there is that. But I can see. I mean, let's say for example, Lewis were to stay for 2 years. Yeah. Let's say. So even by the end of that, Leclerc would only be 28. You could argue 28 for a Formula One driver is
I can see Leclerc going into his mid-30s.
Exactly, yeah. So that's why I'm thinking like Leclerc could easily end up with like at least 25 wins. Yeah. Like I would argue. I'll put 25 down for now in terms of what we predict. We could be horribly wrong. Okay, next one up is Carlos Sainz with 3 race wins and 29 years old. Nearing the end or the latter stages of his career, and he's at Ferrari. He could pick up another 1 or maybe even 2 race wins this year, but he could go to Mercedes next year, which probably not going to be the strongest team next year considering where they are at the moment, or Sauber, which I don't think are going to be the strongest team next year or the year after. So that's going to be really interesting. But do we think Carlos could pick up any more wins?
Yeah, definitely this season, possibly at Ferrari. And you never know, Audi could come out the gates.
They could come out the gates swinging. Yeah.
Yeah. So a few more, but it also depends on who he's paired up with.
Exactly.
Nico Hulkenberg.
Yeah. I'd argue Carlos is better than Nico. For me, I would rate Carlos over Nico.
Yeah, but I'd just be interested to see.
Yeah. But I think if, let's say, hypothetically, Audi don't come out of the gate swinging and they have a midfield car, 2026 onwards, through to 2030, Carlos Sainz turns 34, 35. He finishes off at Sauber. How many wins would you say he'd maybe have? He's got 3 at the moment. I wouldn't 7? Shy away from 5 is what I was going to go with. But if you're thinking 7, do you want to meet in the middle? Go 6?
Let's go 6.
Let's go 6. Alrighty. So he's going to double his race wins between now and when he retires. Okay. Then we have, this is a kind of interesting one because this, I think, could go one of 2 ways. George Russell.
George Russell is an interesting one.
Hmm.
I think he'll get more wins.
Yeah, I think so
He's a
too.
quick driver. It depends on how Mercedes do.
That's the thing. I don't know. He's obviously very closely associated with Mercedes, so I don't know. Like, I can't see George Russell driving for McLaren. I
Oh,
can't
I
see
could
him.
absolutely see him moving to
Okay,
another team if
I
he's
could see him
unhappy
moving to
and
a
does
different
not
team, but
click.
I don't see him at like McLaren or Red Bull.
I could see him at McLaren or Red Bull or Ferrari or anyone.
Uh, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not sure. I can
I could
see
even see
him.
him up against Max next year.
I mean, at this rate, who knows? Can you imagine if Mercedes lose both drivers within a
Yeah.
year? Oh. Because Russell has a 1+1 year contract, so technically Russell
Yeah.
could leave at the end of this year if
Yep.
he really wanted to, which is very odd to think about. But so George Russell, Russell George, he's got one win. He's 26 years old. I think if he gets into a successful seat slash
I could
team,
see him in double figures.
I could see him in double figures. I'm throwing it out there, 12.
I was going to say 12, yeah.
Well, there we go. We'll go with 12 then. Right, we'll stick with 12. I don't know currently. I don't know if Russell has a world championship in him. He has the potential, but I don't think at this current stage
Why
I
not?
can't see a move in him or a team supporting him to win a drivers championship
Why not?
because you've got Charles Leclerc. I think Leclerc is better than Russell. Same age, and you've got Max Verstappen, same age. I think both Max and Charles are better than George. Similar ages. Yeah, I can just see both of those two doing better. Although, to be fair to George, he's done reasonably well the last couple of years. He has beaten Hamilton more often than not.
Yeah, he's done well against Lewis.
So
Yeah.
there is that to take into account. So, but yeah, for me, I just don't. He has the potential, but right now, looking at his career, looking at the team that he's in, looking that he will probably stay reasonably loyal to Mercedes, I cannot see a World Drivers' Championship on the horizon for him anytime soon.
There's too many factors with
Yeah,
cars and all that. So
it's really difficult to work out. It really, really is. But for me at the moment, I'm struggling to see it. I'm not writing him off. Like for example, I did Valtteri Bottas. I don't think Valtteri's got a World Drivers' Championship in him at this stage of his career with the teams and the opportunities he has. But Russell, I don't know. Ocon, I don't think he has it
no,
in him. No. Ocon, he has got one win at the moment. He's 27 years old. I'm tempted to put two down. He
I'd give
might
him 3.
he might nick another one. Well,
You might
I'll
get
put
to
I'll
might
put
see him at
three.
Mercedes.
Yeah, I'll put three. I'll put three down.
Yeah.
Pierre Gasly, who I rate more than Ocon personally.
But I think with Gasly, he had his chance with the Red Bull,
Yeah, he
and I
blew
just
it,
think, yeah,
and I think that especially when you've got, for example, if you're a team principal and your options are Albon or Gasly, who are you going to go with?
I mean, if you're Audi and you went with Nico Hulkenberg over Gasly,
Mm,
and Esteban Ocon's holding his own against him, so
yeah. So this is what I mean. Like Gasly's stock isn't exactly the highest at the moment.
yeah, I don't think he's going to get any more race wins,
I
unfortunately.
don't think so either. Should we put two?
We'll put 2, yeah.
We'll put two. Right, which leaves us with Lando Norris.
Lando the Mando.
Lando the Mando. Right, I will do my best not to be wearing papaya tinted glasses. However, let's be honest, that's going to last about 3 seconds. How many race wins do we think Lando Norris is going to end up with? Do we think he could win a championship? Do we think he could challenge for a championship?
Oh, he could definitely challenge for a championship. The speed is there.
He's beaten Daniel Ricciardo in the same machinery. He is currently beating Oscar Piastri. Bit of a stretch, but you know. I say
Has he
bit.
got it in him? Yes, but I don't think it will happen at McLaren. I think he has to leave.
Ooh,
I think he has to
okay.
leave McLaren. Yeah.
I think you could be onto something there. I think it could almost be like a Charles Leclerc situation whereby like he'll have success with the team, but not ultimate success potentially. Especially if you look at Sebastian Vettel's comments from what 3-4 years ago when he left Ferrari, he told Charles not to waste his talent.
Yeah.
But then again, Ferrari are on a little bit of a resurgence at the moment. They're slowly but surely crawling their way back up the grid. So I say crawling their way back up. They're still the second fastest team. But interesting. It's very interesting. But
I don't see him going anywhere for a while. He's happy at McLaren. He's got a good relationship. The car is quick.
Yeah.
But I think
I'm going to make a cheeky prediction in that, you know how at the end... So McLaren never, ever start off regulations very well. New regulations, ever. Like the last 2 or 3, they've not done... I say ever. The last 2 or 3 new regulations, they've not done particularly well, right? So But recently, they've been doing very well towards the latter stages of regulations. So I'm actually going to predict that next year... McLaren are the team pushing Red Bull in the final year of this set of regulations, and we are going to see Lando push Max a little bit. I still think Max is going to win the championship. That's just the reality of it. But I think he'll push him. I think he'll challenge him a little bit, steal a few race wins here and there, and make it a bit of like squeaky bum time at points. You know. But then
I agree with you.
I think they'll drop off a little bit.
But the thing is, he's not with a works team.
No.
So he'd have to join a Red Bull, a Mercedes, a Ferrari, or an Audi, I think.
Yeah.
If he wants that world championship. Because McLaren will always be there or thereabouts, but not being a works team hurts them.
It can do, yeah.
So, yeah, I think you'll get more race wins. It's a tough one.
It's a really tough one, isn't it? Because it does depend on how loyal he sticks to McLaren, and it depends on how competitive that McLaren is in the new regulations.
Yeah,
those are the two things it hinges on.
And I think with Adrian Newey leaving, I think the field is going to be a little bit more balanced as well. And that's where I think drivers are going to make more of the difference. So.
Yeah, especially from the stuff that I've been learning about the new regulations and stuff like that. I think you're absolutely right. The drivers will make a bit more of a difference than previously.
Yeah, and he makes a difference in the car.
Yeah,
so
yeah. But I can actually see next set of regulations. I can see Ferrari smashing it.
I can see
Ferrari coming out of the gate and being ahead of the competition by a long mile. It's just who's second, as far as I'm concerned at this point. It just depends on who's second.
Yeah. Ugh.
But yeah, it's a very difficult one. But because this is the thing, I think that it's very difficult. I don't know whether or not I think that Lando has a world championship in him, but I'm not like 100% confident that he can do it based off of where he is now, the car that he's in now, the team, and what moves may be coming up.
He needs more pole positions and race wins.
Exactly.
Like
that's the thing. Yeah. But then again, he hasn't had a competitive car the entire time, like Charles, you argue, has had. So, although to be fair to obviously the 3 or 4 that came through at the same time, Albon is probably the only one who hasn't been in a really competitive car since.
No, but he has been in Formula 1 for 5 years.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
Yeah, true.
So, all right then. Yeah.
Tough one. I have a number in my head of race wins.
All right.
And this is like pushing for at least one championship. I am going to go 18.
18?
18. That's what I'm going for.
Yeah, I agree
18.
with you.
Because I feel like 18 is sort of on that level where you very clearly you've had at least one reasonably successful season. You may be pushing for a title or a championship. Maybe you win a championship. But then the next season or two, maybe you have 1 or 2 race wins or like a random 1 or 2 every now and again. Or you're just reasonably competitive for 2 or 3 seasons consistently. If you win like 5 races a year for 3 years, I'd argue you're a very successful Formula 1 driver.
But I think also he's up against Oscar.
Yeah.
He's very quick.
Yeah,
so it's not going to be like a Max dominance or a Michael dominance. He's going to have to really fight for his wins. And you can say this about every season, but the talent on the grid, there's Charles, there's Lewis.
Yeah.
If we just look now, Charles, Lewis, Fernando, Max, George, whoever comes up, Kimi Antonelli, Behrman.
Yeah.
There's just going to be
Fernando Alonso,
upcoming rookie. So, yeah, it's gonna be interesting.
All right, so we'll go 18 then.
Yeah,
we'll stick with 18. But so that means that our predictions, we'll just run through those once more.
Yeah.
We are predicting that this is so non-drivers champion drivers, race winners. We are going for Gasly bottom with 2. Then we are going for Ocon with 3.
Yeah.
The next up is Sainz with 6 wins.
Okay.
The next one up is Daniel Ricciardo with 8, which is what is remaining on. And then Valtteri Bottas will remain on 10, but Perez will gain 4 race wins and end up with 10 as well, or there or thereabouts.
Yep.
Then we have George Russell with 12.
Okay.
Then we have Lando Norris with 18. Okay. And Charles Leclerc with 25.
I think that sounds
I think that's reasonable.
Yeah, watch it completely capitulate.
Probably, yeah. I guarantee you what will happen, right, is Alpine will hit the 26 regulations with an absolute monster, and Ocon will end up having like
Ocon's
50 wins.
Break every single record.
Ocon
Max was dominant. We haven't seen nothing yet.
We've experienced ourselves the genius of Charlie Gates and that Alpine floor. So we know where these cars are going to... Yeah, no. I think that we could be completely wrong, but it's been a fun theoretical conversation. I'll put together a little graphic of where we predict the drivers will end up with how many race wins and stuff like that, and we'll chuck that up on socials as well, because if you aren't following us on socials, please do. Although, let's be honest, if you listen to this, you probably already are. But check us out at the 107 Pod on Instagram, TikTok. We're on YouTube, all that fun stuff, and be sure to follow us on your preferred podcast platform. But yeah, that was a fun little topic. I enjoyed that. It's a fun theoretical little thing based off of the back of Lando's race win in Miami. But
let's see what happens in the future.
Yeah, silly season could impact it. New regulations. God knows what's going to happen. But it's going to be very interesting to see exactly where these drivers end up. So thank you everyone for listening, and we will see you in the next one.
See ya.